ladies and gentlemen, it is an open secret that the minorities in Pakistan, Bangladesh and Afghanistan are being hunted down because they don't want to convert to Islam. In fact, many have sought refuge in India because they are facing religious persecution in these countries. But unfortunately, because of a lack of citizenship, they are not entitled to COVID care at any facility because they don't happen to be Indian citizens and do not have Aadhaar card, which is the basic document to provide. Well, in order to safeguard their interests, the government has now issued a notification inviting citizenship applications from these persecuted non-Muslims. But the order issued on May 28th has now been challenged by the Indian Union Muslim League, an ally of the Congress party in the Supreme Court. The Indian Muslim League calls the order illegal and an attempt to bring in controversial Citizenship Amendment Act through the back door. The government, however, insists that this is nothing to do with the CAA since the rules are under the amended act that is yet to be notified. Let's listen in to what the IUML has to say and what the Supreme Court will finally adjudicate on.
That under the Citizenship Amendment Act of 2019, this particular provision was brought in by the central government. Now that provision has been challenged before the Supreme Court and the challenge is pending. Now while the challenge was pending, the petitioners, we all sought for a stay of implementation of the Act. Then a statement was told to the Supreme Court that no rules have been formulated under this particular Act, and therefore there is no question of implementation at this stage. Now in this background, the centre has brought out this notification last week, that is 28th of May, which according to us is trying to implement the provisions of the Citizenship Amendment Act via backdoor.
Well, the BJP has of course called this totally hypocritical by the Congress and by the IUML, and therefore the legitimate question on the Newshour tonight is just one. Do we have no sympathy in these COVID times for victims of Islamist hate? That's the question and the debate coming up on the other side.
You're watching the News Hour at 9. Debate number 2 on Times Now. Super Prime Time.
And joining me tonight, Nupur Sharma, spokesperson of the BJP, Ishkaran Bhandari, advocate. But my first question goes to Advocate Mohammad Shah, member of the IUML. And I want to ask you, Mr. Shah, Rohingyas are given, citizenship in this country. Bangladeshis are given citizenship in this country. But you will not give citizenship to these persecuted Hindus who have come here simply because they did not agree to convert and they were being persecuted maybe in Pakistan, maybe in Afghanistan or, neighboring countries. Why would you not do that? What is something that is making you keep them away from COVID care at this time when this should be a humanitarian concern in your mind?
No, it is not a question of giving citizenship to the Hindus or something like that. My question is, in 2019 Citizenship Amendment Act has come. The only issue is the minorities of Pakistan, Afghanistan and Bangladesh who are persecuted and reached this country before December 31st, 2014 are entitled to get the citizenship. That is the thing. So why the rules has to be framed? Rules should be there for a procedure to adopt to find out whether they are persecuted or not. Second thing is whether they reach this country on a particular date or not. These procedure has to be conducted. On 16/1/2020, while the cases were taken up, the central government submitted before the Honorable Supreme Court that the rules, since the rules are not implemented, they cannot implement the Citizenship Amendment Act. Now what they are saying is that under the cover of Section 16 of Citizenship Act, they say that they are appointing certain district electors for 5 states, in which that district electors can accept application in online from the persons who are not Muslims, who came from these 3 countries.
Ishkaran Bhandari, I want to ask you, is this decision, this notification of the government bad in law? because the rules are not framed, so you cannot give COVID care because these people do not have citizenship papers. On the other hand, Rohingyas ke liye ye roz ladte hain. Rohingyas should be made citizens of this country. We should not turn them out. Where will they go? All that soft corner will exist for them. But for these persecuted Hindus, there will be a problem, and the rule book will be questioned.
Navika, there are demonstrated cases of genocide of Hindus in Pakistan, Afghanistan, Bangladesh. There are demonstrated cases of rapes and abduction of women. There are demonstrated cases of forcible conversion. This is not only a law which was much required, it was a moral duty of all governments which BJP is fulfilling. Leave aside these arguments of this rule or not, it is under the Citizenship Act. But the broader question is, are you opposing citizenship to persecuted minorities who you demonstratively have been forcing to convert to Islam in these countries, and India is trying to provide them relief, rehabilitation, leave alone the factor of COVID, where it is an emergency situation and they are giving emergency relief. Even without COVID, this has to be done, and I, for one, am very grateful that the government is doing it. People are trying to take umbrage before some technicalities. So in order to not have citizenship to these people who are suffering, even technically they will not succeed. I don't think so. They will. The Supreme Court will rule in favor of the government. But even broadly and even morally, this is much required.
Yeah.
Well, Nupur Sharma, I want to ask you, by definition, minorities are sects of people that should be protected. And that is what minorities in India demand, and every government has to give that protection to these minorities by definition in the constitution. But when it comes to minorities of Pakistan, Bangladesh and Afghanistan, why do these people have a different standard? Isn't this their hypocrisy? Because those minorities are Hindus and not Muslims or some other religion.
There's a three-pointed points, in fact, I want to make on your show tonight. Navika, first and foremost, we need to read the order before we start attacking it. It is not under the CAA. It is under the existing Citizenship Act, 1955. Let's have that clear. Section 5, 6 and 16. You may laugh, but the reality is that that's what the order states and that's what it's under. Point number two. You know, we know the history of the Congress party, from Mr. Ashok Gehlot writing 3 letters to then Union Home Minister Mr. P. Chidambaram, from Mr. Tarun Gogoi going on record to say we need to protect our persecuted minorities, from, say, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru's time. Even he made statements to this effect, to Mr. Surjewala also making such statements. I mean, it's all in the open for everybody to see how Congress party politicians came on record to say we need to grant naturalization to existing people staying in our country. Now, under the Citizenship Act 1955, it is not necessary whether somebody is persecuted or not. They could also be persecuted. Naturalization can be granted, as was granted in 2004-5 when UPA was in power. And mind you, Navika, it was solely to Hindus and Sikhs. No other religious minorities from the neighboring country. My simple question to the IUML representative is this. Because you are in coalition, you chose not to challenge that order in the court, or is it just because the BJP is in power today that you choose to challenge the current order in court? Why did you not object to Congress-led UPA government repeatedly giving naturalization under the very same laws and rules? Why did you not object to
Mr. Shah, respond to that very sharp and pointed question. Are you addressing a political problem or a legal one?
We are challenging the amendment of 1920 Passport Entry to India Act and the amendment of Citizenship Act. Both the amendments, I will say, may I submit? My point is that in both the cases,
but this decision is not under the CAA. But this decision is not under the CAA.
No, you cannot say it like that.
Where is the discrimination? Discrimination is what you are doing to them.
If you are issuing a citizenship to a person, how can you say that he is an illegal migrant? If you are issuing a citizenship to a person, how can you say that he is an illegal migrant?
What are you arguing about? No, you are choosing now. No. Don't do the selective tutu meme.
You are choosing. You are choosing. You say that. You say that. What you are saying is that.
Ladies and gentlemen, the same political parties that are so hell-bent on giving citizenship to Rohingyas, to Bangladeshis who may have come into India, today have a problem with the select few who are actually refugees in India. Refugees in India because they are facing religious persecution in Pakistan or Afghanistan, countries where they are in a minority. The minority definition in India demands that governments look after them, but minorities in Pakistan should not be accommodated in India because those minorities happen to be Hindus. Is that fair? Think about it. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining me on the News Hour tonight. Good night. I'll see you tomorrow.